What do you think about when you hear the word justice? Superheroes, courtrooms. Well, what about injustice? Poverty, sickness, not being able to provide for your family, getting slighted at work, unrest or even abuse at home, violence, oppression, slavery, child soldiers, sex trade, and human trafficking. These issues are very painful and very real. While they're happening internationally, injustice also waits just beyond our doorsteps. It permeates our city, right here in Reno, Nevada. So, what are we going to do about it? Well, in the New Testament, Jesus gives us 2 commandments. The first one is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your mind, and your strength. And secondly, he asks us to love our neighbor as ourselves. But what does that really mean? What does God's justice look like? And how do we love our neighbor? That's what we'll be discussing at a new class that will be starting on Wednesday, September 14th at 6:30 at Hillside. First, we're going to be doing a 4-week series, and it's going to be called The Call to Justice. So what we'll be discussing is we're going to be going into the Bible. We're going to be looking at certain passages like Isaiah 58, Proverbs 31, Matthew 25, James 2, looking at all of these different verses and seeing what it is that God says about justice and how it applies to us as Christians, how we're able to actually live that out. So after that 4-week course on the call to justice, we'll be transferring into a second series. This one's going to be called Actions of Justice. We're going to be exploring world issues from Sri Lanka to Africa, all the way to right here in Reno, Nevada. We're going to be looking at things like the sex trade, human trafficking, child soldiers, fair trade, and how these things apply to us as Christians. What is it that God is calling us to do? So what we're going to be able to do is to try to figure out what God has gifted us with as individuals as well as a body. And then what we can do is figure out how that applies, what God's calling us to do. For us as Christians, justice isn't just some social movement. And it's not, government programs that are based on taxpayer dollars either. It's not a wealth distribution program. Rather, what it is it's us as God's people recognizing what we can do with the gifts and the money that God has given us, recognizing Him as the true owner, and being willing to give them to those in need. Justice is a call to us as a church, as God's people. And in these classes, we're going to be discovering resources that we can use in order to implement some change around the world and here in our own communities. So if you want to make a difference, if you want to bring hope, and if you want to better learn to love people, then sign up for the classes at the What Next table. It's going to be, remember, on September 14th. It's going to be Wednesday nights. We're going to be going for several weeks, and it's going to start at 6:30, probably go till about 8 o'clock p.m., and you're welcome to come in and drop by at any time. But let me warn you, these classes won't be easy. They will be a challenge. You'll be challenged to learn more about God's Word, to take it upon yourself to study, and to discover what it is that He's calling you to do. You're going to have to make life decisions differently. You're going to be shaken up in the way that you function just from day to day, as well as how you view the world. And as a result, though, you're going to become more sensitive to the things of God, and you're going to become more intimate with Him. And so it is worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. So I invite you to take the challenge and to go ahead and jump into these classes. Lastly, I just want to leave you with a verse. In Ephesians 5, it tells us to awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead. So I want to challenge you to wake up, Hillside, and come to the classes starting September 14th to learn about God's call to justice.